Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome this Tuesday, the 29th of July. Hope you're doing well as we get ready to see what the markets are doing, what the Fed might do, and more things like that when Dave joins us here in just a few minutes.
Point seven Light FM, always something there to surprise me. They don't sound a bit like Dionne Warwick, so I'm always surprised. It's 8:40 now, 20 before 9. Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. And we're talking to said tax and legal advisor, too, Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring. Find out what's going on with your money this morning. Phillip, good morning. It's good to have you back this morning.
Hey, good morning, Dave. Good to be back. It is, we're just winding down this month, but we're getting to start to see some big players really this week with some earnings numbers come in, which is good news. I was looking at the economic calendar. It looks like we've got an update on the GDP later this week as well.
Oh, yeah. Starting tomorrow, the floodgates just absolutely open. We're going to get our first taste of employment with the JOLTS report a little bit later on this morning. But then starting tomorrow, we get the second look at the GDP for last quarter. The Fed is going to announce no interest rate change, we assume tomorrow afternoon. Start getting personal consumption expenditure numbers. And then on Thursday, we get the core PCE inflation number that could either scare you or make your morale improve a little bit. Job cuts, and then the big numbers come out on Friday where we get the unemployment rate. On top of that, we got like 175 of the Standard & Poor's 500 reporting this week. Gosh, what are we going to talk about this week, Phillip?
It's a big week, isn't it?
It sure is. Start out with yesterday, and we had one more record on the Standard & Poor's. It was only up $1.13, but that was enough to set a new closing record, 63.8977. NASDAQ did the same thing. They were up 70 to 21,178, and the Dow was actually off by 0.14%, but still 44,837 is still solidly in nosebleed territory. And from what I'm reading, most of the Dow is being weighted down right now by United Healthcare. They hit a 5-year low yesterday, and that can do wonders for the Dow 30, can't it?
Yeah, it really can. It's one of those things that it really does. When that price drops, and let's face it, United Healthcare has gotten hit hard, and getting hit again this morning. So that continues to put pressure on the Dow.
Yeah, and IBM was the other one. I know a couple of days ago when we had it going that IBM had what looked like a halfway decent earnings report, but traders traded it down anyway. And between IBM and United Healthcare, I think at one point in time I had them accounting for like a 300-point drop on the Dow. So once again, the Dow 27 or 28 is doing just fine. The Dow 30, on the other hand, is under a little pressure. Huh?
It is. It's kind of like it's hit this wall, and it's had this stock or that stock that continues to drag it down a little bit.
Absolutely. When I'm soloing, I generally mention a fear and greed index that I have a tendency to look at, and you and I agree it's mostly a survey of amateur investors, and I think we kind of agree that it's almost a measure of the fear of missing out syndrome. So I found this kind of interesting. My fear and greed index this morning is bordering on extreme greed. Amateur investors are downright optimistic, but Goldman Sachs did a survey of institutional investors, and the stock sentiment on institutional investors is flat, dead, neutral. I mean, they gauge it minus and plus 1 to 3, and it is 0 this morning. There's a little bit of dissonance in there, and it does kind of get to the point, something that's a syndrome you've mentioned when we've chatted before, that when the market is into nosebleed territory, that's when the amateurs get eager and get in, and that's almost a dead flat certain sign that it's getting toward the peak of a rise, isn't it?
It is. That fear of missing out kicks in, and then everybody wants to jump in, and what happens? You jump in the high, and the institutional guys say, "Oh, this is the time to bail out, and keep my profits." and then the poor individual investor gets stuck holding the bag.
That's why that guy sitting in his underwear in his living room day trading generally ends up being the loser. The big overwhelming news for the next 2 days probably is going to be the Federal Reserve meeting. The Open Market Committee meeting is today and tomorrow. 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, we get the decision that we assume is going to be the interest rates holding steady from the Federal Reserve. But President Trump has been jawboning. Two of the Fed governors have been on record jawboning for an interest rate decrease. And now another planet has heard from a bunch of bond traders are saying if we don't start cutting interest rates soon, the Fed is risking a quote-unquote deflationary spiral. And I found that kind of interesting, and my flippant response before we went on the air is, I'll bet you that trader voted for Trump. What do you think? Are you there? Oh, my Lord, we're losing him. The internet is not quite as reliable as running water. I'm going to leave the volume up,
No,
Phillip, if you can hear me. There you are.
can you
Can I
hear
hear
me?
you now?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
gotcha. I was about
All
ready
right.
to go on to my notes and backup stuff. Talking about the institutional differences between them all, and the possibility from that bond trader. He was saying that if the Fed doesn't cut rates, we're looking at a deflationary spiral, and I kind of postulated that particular trader might have been a Trump voter. What do you think?
I think so. That's most likely because you and I probably both would be on the other side of that coin, thinking that interest rates are probably, we'd all like them to come down, but the purpose is to reduce inflation, and we've not seen inflation hit that 2% number yet, and so we probably need to keep interest rates level right now and give the economy time to or inflation time to kind of back off a little bit more.
And I might make note of the fact that at the very least, the expectations are for the PCE inflation number we get out in a couple of days. It's not expected to go down. It's expected to hold steady if the assayers have a good idea when it hits. Given the fact that we've got some connection questions down the line, let's get straight into the meat of things as far as earnings season are concerned. We got a couple of household names that reported early this morning and yesterday afternoon. One of the ones comes to mind is PayPal. How are they doing lately?
PayPal really had a decent month, especially their Venmo division. Venmo grew by 20%. That's the second quarter that they've grown that extensively. So that's good news. They beat by 10 cents a share, came in at $1.40. Revenue ahead of expectations as well. However, there's something somewhere because they're not getting rewarded for that good news. They're down 5.1% this morning, and I can't really see any sticking points in the report that I have here. So that's we'll have to see what's the deal there.
I did not even know that PayPal owned Venmo. I see it mentioned on social media a lot, but I didn't realize they owned that company. I just learned something new this morning.
Yep, that's one of their babies. They have. So, hey, another household name that came out is Procter and Gamble. They beat, but they warn about tariffs starting to really weigh down on their earnings potential. So they beat by 6 cents a share, came in at $1.48. Revenue was just a tad above expectations. Again, I think because no, they were down earlier. They're up about 0.75% now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of Procter. They've got their fingers in just about a half a dozen industries or more. I kind of think of them as almost the ultimate pure domestic company. It's got to be their export expectations that are causing them their tariff questions. They don't import that much, do they?
I don't know. I mean, the report doesn't really say that kind of stuff. So another one that let's talk about because they're getting hit up pretty hard. I don't see the actual pricing because it's traded on the UK on the Britain Stock Exchange, but Novo Nordisk, they're a big drug maker. They missed on earnings and have one of their disappointing trials on one of their clinical trials. And so they were trading down as much as 26% this morning.
My read on that, a little story I saw in one of my tip sheets, is they issued a profit warning because their Wegovy and Ozempic stuff,
Yeah.
those GLP-2, whatever, the diabetic and weight loss meds, the market is just getting saturated for them, especially with all the generics out there. So they put a profit warning out.
Gotcha. Okay. So that really well, and they replaced their CEO too, all of a sudden. So that was another big thing that kind of came across the ticker.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll make your investors nervous, won't it?
yeah, it will. And then Merck, also another pharmaceutical company, they reported.
Hmm.
Um, now this one, the report says they're not sure that the $2.13 that they reported is comparable to the $2.01 estimate when it comes to earnings. So they haven't figured out if they're apples to apples yet, but they missed on revenue. That I do know. So they missed on revenue, and that has Merck trading down almost 4.3% this morning.
I got to believe when they say one of their numbers we're not too sure of is also a little scary to investors, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we
Stellantis,
used the wrong calculator. That's it. Yeah.
yeah, Stellantis reported. They're the makers of Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, that line of auto vehicles. Um, they're falling this morning. Their net profit was 5.6 billion euros, which sounds pretty good. But they had a net loss, and so they're trading down about 2.5%
Ooh.
this morning. And I did
This is
finally
the
get
first earnings
UPS.
season. I was going to say this is the first earnings season day where I'm actually hearing more disappointments than surprises.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then you mentioned UPS earlier to me. I
Yeah.
did finally came across my sheet. They missed by a penny a share, and they did not provide any revenue guidance. Citing macroeconomic uncertainty, and they're getting um, well, they a little bit. They're down 2.75% right now, but they were down as much as 5% earlier this morning.
Ouch! I'd heard that they pulled their guidance, so a miss on P&L doesn't help in a bit. I guess it's time for them to raise the hem on those cute brown shorts they make the guys wear. That always helps. Resetting the table for the morning, the blue chip Dow index was the only red ink that I had in the equities market yesterday, and we could almost explain that as one or two stocks. Everything else is pretty good. 45 minutes before we open this morning, how are we doing?
We got green ink, but I will tell you, it is fading. It is not as good as it was earlier. Right now, we got the Dow Jones Industrial 30 up less than $19, which is less than 0.05 one hundredths. And then we got the S&P 500 up 2 tenths right now. The NASDAQ 100 up about 4 tenths. So we got green ink, but I will say it is fading off this morning. On the other side of the coin, we are trading down on silver right now by just a little bit. It's at $38.19 an ounce right now. Gold up a third. Crude oil up about 0.6%, $67.14 a barrel right now.
Well, I was down 66 for a little while earlier this week. We'll hope we go back there. Overseas markets, the European market seeing a little bit of the bloom wearing off of that proposed tariff settlement, but they're still mostly in the green. Average European index up by about 1/3% halfway through their day, as there's some doubts as to whether or not we're going to be able to make that billions and billions of dollars for an energy deal actually happen. Over on the Asian rim, Japan is saying, what do you mean we're going to invest all that money in America? That's not an investment. So Japanese markets are down as we have some doubt as to whether or not that trade deal hits. Chinese markets are generally up over the rumors that negotiations on a tariff deal with China are actively on the table this morning. Somebody want to figure out how to make your retirement happen the way you plan it to. That takes more than just a pair of amateur eyes. Look at that FOMO, fear of missing out stuff we were talking about. Get me a pro. How do I get your help to make my retirement happen, Phillip?
Dave, that's why I created the Core Retirement Design to help people design that retirement they always dreamed of. It's a 30-minute phone call where we'll make sure that they're on the right track to that retirement they dreamed of. Give us a call 863-382-0037 to discuss your retirement to make sure you're on the right path. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. 95.3 FM.
And the Statler, yeah, we mentioned the Statler Financial. We got it all. We'll see you
Yep, got
tomorrow
it all.
morning here, all right? I'm
All right, buddy.
confused. I can't help it. See you
Take
then.
care.
It's
All right.
105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
Who